Hello, everyone. Today we are looking at, let me see if I can get this as the first try, The Missing, J.J. Macfield and the Island of Mysteries. Now, again, I have this habit of playing sweary games without realizing they're swearing games until I start playing them. And I swear, every time this freaking guy gets me, he's like, oh, this is like a really boring kind of whatever game. And then I start playing it, I'm like, oh, whoa, this is really overly complicated in a lot of weird ways I really appreciate. And so The Missing, you play as JJ, I think, and what I thought this game was like a weird Western game that was like a puzzle solving thing, like a Nancy Drew kind of situation. Yeah, it's nothing like that. So you play as this girl and you're given like very little context for anything, and you're basically on this island, with your best friend essentially, and then you are by this campfire, you wake up, and then you start walking around, and it's this 2D platformer essentially with puzzles and whatever. But the backgrounds are like hyper realistic clouds, and the foreground is like this weird cell shaded style design, and you kind of get you have these text message conversations that keep happening, and you talk to everyone from like your best friend to like this other guy friend who's kind of aggressive and sends you memes and stuff, and your professor who asks you when your report is ready, and it has nothing to do what's going on in the game. And so a lot of the environments, you're going through them, and throughout the environments you're going to collect things like keys, and also the collectibles in this game are donuts. It is never explained why. The main character doesn't even like donuts. She's never expressed interest to donuts, but you're collecting donuts, and there's 270 of them for some reason. It's just wild. And as you're going through the environment, you're like, okay, this is a weird like setting. I don't know what's going on here. And eventually, JJ, she will end up tripping on like a piece of barbed wire, and her entire leg will come flying off. And it's just like, oh my god, what happened to her? What did I do? And then, like, if you keep crawling towards, the barbed wire, you'll lose all of your limbs basically, and it gets this horrifying thing where you're just like, at some point, you're just ahead, and you can still roll around though. But I've never played a game where. It's been a while since I played a game where the mechanics surprised me, and so what happens is you can basically go to your other body parts and like reattach them to your body, and you can use that to get through certain cracks and things in the environment. And and I'm just sitting there thinking, I have no idea what's going on, but it is really, really bizarre. And there's another section of the game where you have these giant swinging like concrete wrecking balls, and you have to use them to essentially, when they hit you, the environment inverts, and suddenly there's a puzzle that you have to do. And so then you break every bone in your body, and you're this like in this nether world, and then by using that ability, I guess, you're able to essentially invert and revert the environment. And again, like, none of this makes any sense. None of this is explained. Meanwhile, your professor is like spamming you with, philosophical questions about why, what's the use of, the Star Wars movies. It's absolutely like absolutely insane. And I didn't realize it was a sweary game until maybe I was like halfway or, through it, until I realized, oh, wow, this is kind of interesting. And so you hold down the action button to essentially resurrect your body, and so you can use that to get around the environment and also reverse gravity and all this other stuff that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The other thing that also really surprises me about this game is the distinct lack of music. There's not very much music in this game, which adds to the eeriness of the whole experience. So I think you're probably going to say, oh, okay, so this is a weird puzzle game. Maybe it's like a weird distraction, but it's actually not that great. I really, really like this game. Mainly not the main gameplay, but the actual story it leads up to and what it does by the end of the game is really shocking. There's also definitely some kind of trans motif in the character. but it's never really fully explained or described or something. It's kind of hard to tell, honestly. But they have this whole thing where you have this other version of yourself, and throughout the game, there's also these sections where you're being chased by this giant monster with scissors or whatever. And it's hard to tell if like that's your fear or that's your other self, but they have this really cool ending where essentially, you know, you're able to finally face your fear and you fight this monster that's been chasing you the whole game, and it climaxes in this really, really cool, interesting thing. But again, it's this thing where on the trans thing where they talk about like you have two different names, two different genders, and you're not sure which one is the one you're playing as. It's very obtuse, and I kind of enjoy it that way because it's really up to the player's interpretation how much you want to read into that theme, and if they were a boy or they were a girl at one point. And again, it's not preachy or anything too, which again is rare, I suppose. But yeah, it's a highly abstract puzzle game that is very, very moody, and even though I just said there's not a lot of music, when there is music, oh my god, it is really impactful. There's this whole scene where I guess you come to the revelation of who you were or who you are, and you go through this field of like blue flowers, and it's very cinematic, it's very, very emotional, and the song they have, I hate it because it's literally the singer just doing la-las. They're just singing la 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 la, but they do it so beautifully with accompanied by this piano, and it's just insanely good, despite the fact they're just singing la la la. This game, it throws me for so many loops. Why am I collecting donuts, and why are there giant like spider bots hiding in the trees of a cemetery ready to like dismember me and devour my flesh? I don't know. Why am I a trans person? I don't know. It's really, really crazy and interesting, and I really recommend it if you're into obviously other sweary games, but in general it's fun, I guess. And the puzzles are decently challenging as well. You know, sometimes you have to sneak around the spider bots, get a certain key around them, or else you get devoured and stuff like that. And I guess it is pretty forgiving because you can't really necessarily die in this game, that there's no like big time losses or resets or whatever. There's also one cutscene in this game that was really like intense, and it kind of deals with themes of suicide as well, but like I wasn't ready for it, and it was like, okay, we're gonna put this in your face and make you have an emotion. I was like, ooh, wow, okay. So this is a very emotional, well-told, abstract puzzle game. Yeah, I don't really want to say more of it than that because there might be spoilers or might be things that I interpreted that I thought were spoilers but aren't. But really, really fascinating game. Really, really cool. Highly recommended, I suppose. But yeah, that's it, guys. See you later.